Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis.
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
Good day and welcome to our podcast. This is CampHacker episode 103, recorded live on the 16th of November, 2017. On today's show, encouraging the next generation of camp pros. If you would like easy, automatic, free updates of our podcast, you can subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or most other places you get your favorite podcasts. This week's CampHacker podcast is sponsored in part by camp pros like you who support the show on Patreon. If you've got even one good idea from the CampHacker podcast, you can show your support for the show for as little as $1 per episode. That's right, even $1 a month plays a big part in the production of every CampHacker podcast and helps us reach camp pros all around the world. For chipping in, you'll get some great rewards too, just like a Kickstarter campaign. Please go to patreon.com/CampHacker. And we want to give a special shout out to these specific people who've helped cover the cost of producing this CampHacker episode. Marie, Megan, Allison, Andy, Teresa, Lisa, Keith, Ange, Jack, and Mark. Thanks so much. You folks are awesome. We hope you enjoy the CampHacker Show.
Hello and welcome to the CampHacker Podcast. My name is Travis Ellison. I run the CampHacker Network and Go Camp Pro, and I am pleased to be presenting this live recording of CampHacker.
My name is Dan Weir. I'm the Director of Camping Services at Frost Valley YMCA. Frost Valley is a year-round camp conference education facility in Catskill Mountains in New York, and this was my 21st summer working there.
And my name's Joe Richards. I'm the Executive Director of Pierce Williams Christian Center, which is a United Church of Canada summer camp and retreat facility located about halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
And my name is Matt Hansberger, and I'm the Camp Director at Pierce Williams Christian Center, and like Joe said, halfway Detroit and Toronto.
And we're pleased to have Matt on this side of the camera, on this side of the mic. As many of you know, Matt is our editor and producer, and
I didn't know that.
good to
Really?
have you here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What I love about this recording, Travis, is there's no delayed.
Yes, there will be lots of static like that too.
Editing is going to be really easy on this
Yes, that's right.
Sweet.
So our topic for today is encouraging the next generation of camp pros. And Matt, I wonder if you would get us started. What's some of your thinking you proposed this topic?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that I have been really fortunate in my life to be a product of a lot of people investing time into me, not only with the CampHacker podcast, but my camp directors in the past have given me a lot of ability to think and grow independently at camp and put forward some of my ideas and just run with them. So I've always really appreciated that, and I think that's what grew me into realizing that I could take on camp as a full-time profession, especially for our American listeners. That's a pretty easy thing, is to find it's an easier thing to find a full-time job in camping. But in Canada, I was super thrilled when I found that I could find a niche in camping, and instead of becoming a teacher, I could just jump into camping, something that I was truly passionate about.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I still remember the conversations I had with Halby Brown when I was 16, with Scott Arzella when I was 21, with Jeff Daly when I was 24, and with my current boss I talk to frequently about thinking of this as a career, as a lifestyle, as something that you can get into. And I think one was they would put it out there, and times they would talk with people, right? So they would open that avenue of telling their story, which is a very easy thing to do. Camp directors love to talk, right? We're telling our story. And then the other is pivoting into that could be you. So I think that is, and that's without even mentoring, just the fact of stating that this is a career and this is viable and it's important,
Well, and as someone who grew up before the internet, really, and hit your stride first. So when I went away to university, the internet's not a thing, and I tried to convince my farmer dad that I want to work at camp the rest of my life, and his response is is that even possible? And you don't even know you're like, well, I'm sure it is, but I don't know how, right? I don't know, because, right, our local phone book doesn't have any summer camp numbers in it. It's just a thing. And so it's a lot easier now to figure it out and to know that there's those things in place. And I know that the University of Florida has a camp director's course that you can take. That's what Jaleesa from Newego took. So, but when I went away to university, my dad was not convinced that camping was a viable
real
option. And that's like 25 years ago in 92, because you had zero sort of reference point unless you knew a camp person who did this on a regular basis. So,
and I think that, I think it's incredibly important that we take the time to spot people and to mention it. This is a theme that I'm building on this week because of a TED Talk that I'm preparing, where my opening story is about me at 11 having my counselor say, "You're going to be a great camp counselor one day." And that's one thing that, the four of us would not be at this table had Ian McLean not, in 1984, one afternoon after rush hour, said, "Travis, come and talk to me for a second." So it has long-term impact, I think, being thoughtful and noticing and saying those things. And then there's lots of things I think we can do during the summer. The conversations are incredibly important. Showing people the resources, like what degree programs or the master's program that's available. But even your degree in rec is quite relevant to what.
Yeah, so I have a degree in outdoor recreation, parks, and tourism, and the reality is in my time at Pierce Williams, we've sent like 5 or 6 staff, not sent, they've chosen to go off and do outdoor recreation at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. So I think from a staff perspective, you're teaching them that, yes, this is something they can do. Travis, this summer you saw how early I intervene in campers' lives to say, let's plan your future at camp.
Yes.
You did a video, I haven't seen it, but it might go out at some point. And just, I'm reminded, so I have this little folded book, the zine, that the kids fill out, when they can be a CIT, when they can be a counselor, what their camp name could be, how they can be an awesome counselor. Just the other night, I was sitting in a restaurant and I was writing notes to those kids, and so now I'll mail those books back to them. I kept them,
awesome.
and I'll mail them back to them, so they'll get it over the next month. And for the kids I recognize at 7 or 8, if I say you're going to love being a camp counselor someday, that's and it's based on the story that you tell, right? That if I tell that to them now some I'm more careful about my wording. You might make an awesome camp counselor.
Right.
You might not.
That's so funny. Yeah.
So, none of us has a degree, and none of us at this table, and Gab either have a degree in camping. But Matt, what do you think? If your degree in math and music, what are the courses you would recommend people look for in school that you have found as you're getting started as a camp director have been helpful?
It's funny because I might say no to that because my background is in music and math education, and I always wanted to go to teachers college, and for me I kind of just hit the turning point where I said, okay, I've been going to camp every single summer through university, but I want to become a teacher. That's what I want to teach. But then I found this awesome program at Queen's in Kingston, Ontario. It's outdoor experiential education. So it was balancing my love for camp. So I finally didn't have to choose. And the moment that I didn't have to choose is when I made the choice that I wanted to go into camping, and I didn't want to, fight to get into teaching, and because camp just felt normal. And if I could bring all the education things that I knew into camp, then that was the ticket, right? And anything you get into can be applicable to camp. Like at Pierce Williams, we tell staff to bring their passions to kids. That's why we have sessions based on kids' passions. Like if someone loves coding, let's make it happen with kids. So for me, my education background plays a part in how we develop our wilderness program, how we schedule people, how we work, how we interact with school groups in the outdoors. And then my background in camp is what brought me to the camp professional life. So I think if you're passionate about camp and you care about the ability that camp has to make positive community, that's why I got into camping, was because the classroom for me wasn't the best option for creating positive, sustainable communities. So no matter what I think I studied, I think I probably would have always found my way into camp. But a big part of that, the whole reason why I wanted to talk about this, was because people showed me that it was possible. That I could bring my passions into camp and build community and be a part of this wonderful thing. So,
did you have a specific leader or a specific counselor who said to you, you'd be a great camp counselor, or you'd be good at leadership and camp directing?
It's hard to remember way back into my camper days, but I remember Chantel Jackson, who's been on the podcast. Match was huge in my camp world from the time I was 10 years old and crying because I missed home.
Yeah.
And she like pulled me aside and talked me on the bench and just got me to stay.
Yeah.
And then every year,
forever on the bench.
it was a long time. I was very weepy, but she was. I kind of grew at camp with her. She was my first ever counselor, and then she became the director at Cairn. And between her and Rebecca and you and Beth and Adam, those people just kind of kept giving me those little responsibilities and asking me if I would want to be a part of, designing, even as a counselor.
Opening that door.
I designed evening programs like wide games, and they let me run. In my second year on staff, I ran a session just on a wicked book that I read about like conquering your fears. So I led like a TED talk, and I like put a dress shirt on. I felt so like proud to do that moment. But they like pushed me in there, and they supported me through that and told me how great it was and gave me some feedback. So,
and I think that's the key, is that what I love about United Church Camping, and that's where I grew up in Canada, is that they start us so young, right? So we would start as CITs at 15, and you're a counselor at 16. And what in a talk I did last week, I was with some camping people in Texas, and the question they asked, one of the things we talked about was the idea of micromanaging and how do you get around that, and this is my thing is choose the right people and then let them do their job. Yeah. But I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, and I think giving them the ability to do it the way they want or the way they see is part of that mentoring of young staff. You can there's a huge value in letting them fail. I often say this about CIT programs. It's hugely valuable to let CITs fail at leading an evening program. It's not going to ruin some kid's summer, but the learning lessons that they can get from the next day being like, what happened there, guy? What
where
happened?
did that fall apart?
So,
I think that failure, that's probably the best part about the camp environment, is that you're able to recover the next day. You really are able to go.
Well, and a ton of our school system right now is not designed around having kids fail at all.
Right.
No.
Right? So, and this is my big worry and why we deal with anxiety at camp is this, in my mind, is that people are set up to be so successful, always 98s, always 99s, always, right?
Yeah.
And then when they do fail at something, it's new to them.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm trying to figure out a way to have my daughter fail at something. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that'll be, but I'll make it happen. My son does it all on his own. My daughter, I gotta work on it. So.
Well, Sarah, who we're going to see tonight at the Society dinner, and that's why Dan's here, is because he's speaking at this Toronto Society of Camp Directors. Sarah, I had a discussion with her last April about one of her cousins who had gone to camp and was in a senior leadership position, and Sarah had helped her get this job and prepare for it. And then Sarah's mom talked to Sarah and said, I think your cousin's going to back out in June, like right 2 weeks before camp started. And Sarah went and talked to her and realized that it was just, on paper, she understood the job and knew what she was doing and felt comfortable doing it, but getting up to it, she just was so scared of failing that she would rather quit before it started than actually fail at part of it. Yeah. So I think one of the topics we're going to talk about in depth this season is talk about anxiety in staff. So I don't want to belabor it too much, but I think we need to accept the fact that we can have a positive effect on people's anxiety by giving them chances to fail early and giving them a safe place to do so,
and open up about your own failures.
Yes,
right? Like I talk about it all the time. Like I just because I've been working in this industry for a long time doesn't mean every program I run is great. Like I'm still learning as well too, and crafting and tweaking, and if I wasn't taking those chances, if I wasn't experimenting, I wouldn't want to work in this. Like that to me, that's important so we feel alive as experimenting.
Yeah.
I also love activities, and Iskis and I have talked briefly about this during outdoor ed, activities where there is no success, right? Like where they can succeed, but there's no direct, what a lot of students in outdoor ed want, right, coming from a classroom, they want to know, well, what is right? And I'm like, just do it. Just like sort the balls into bicycle tires. Yeah. That's it. But I don't get it. Yeah. Go. Right? And there's no right or wrong way. It's just, and I think that sometimes can help people with their perception of that anxiety. Fail at something that has zero impact on life. And a lot of what we do has zero impact on the long term. Do you remember, if you're far away from university, do you remember the anxiety from exams? Nope.
Yeah.
I remember walking down and being herded into like exam rooms and making cow sounds, but beyond that,
Yeah.
Dan, did you have somebody who said something to you when you were younger?
Yeah. I definitely remember.
That was the conversation we were
those things I was talking about earlier. Yeah. I mean, I remember. I found overnight camping very late in the career, but I remember someone sitting with a large group was saying, and this is the impact we have on children overall, and me being really inspired by that, saying that's the type of impact I want to leave on people. Yeah. I remember when I was like 21 and not knowing what I wanted to do, and I was working in advertising. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And someone saying, you're really good at this. You should really consider this as a job, like as a career, like post college. And just those continued conversations. I think there's an aspect of critical mentoring that needs to happen. You need to find that mentor. Hopefully it's your supervisor. If it's not, figuring out another avenue for a person. And someone that's going to push you, someone that's going to challenge you, someone that's going to be there to not be the pillow for when you fail, but to be the one to be like, yeah, you failed. Yeah. Get back up. I think finding that person in life, whether it's a spouse or it's someone in camp, is important. Yeah.
And I think there's a ton of opportunity in the camp world in general for a more formal mentoring system.
Yeah.
People putting up their hand saying, I'm willing to be a mentor to somebody. Like, I've done it as part of the master's program. I did it 1 year. It was pretty academic, but I think you could, make it more career related if it was a little more somebody you could check in with and had some sort of a program. So somebody take that idea and run with it.
Yeah, I attended a session at the ACA nonprofit camp conference last week. And it was from the Newark Mentoring Society, and basically they talked. They just said go to Amazon, look up a book on critical mentoring, like that phrase, and you'll find something to do that. And I think I take a lot of benefit from mentoring people as well.
Yes, of course.
I think I grow as much as mentoring people as they do.
Right.
Mentored, so.
I don't remember his name, but he wrote the 2-Minute Manager. It's an old 80s management book.
Yeah.
He just wrote a book about finding a mentor.
Yeah.
Just came out. I heard him interviewed a little while ago on a podcast.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday afternoon in the summer, what can you do to push someone?
To push someone for beyond like that day?
Yeah, but I mean into a long-term thinking.
Well, I think the phrase that comes to my mind is this phrase of discernment, which is a term the church uses to discern what God's call is in your life. Mm-hmm. Now, some churches or denominations have co-opted that to mean like, should I become a minister or not? But the term is not religious in the sense. It is a, where should I be in my life? And so I think camp offers any youth or camper the ability to discern what they love, what they're passionate about. So if they're passionate about kids and want to work in a very structured format, potentially teaching is where they want to go. Or if they love the young kids, if they get super excited at primary camp, then potentially it's early childhood education versus teaching overall. And I think that you can do that in the summer just by noticing and recognizing the positives in people. I often, and I'm horrible at this, I come to camp and I notice what's missing, what's wrong, because that's what I do. Yeah. I make the assumption that somebody else is telling them what's right. That might or might not always be the case. Yeah. But the idea that on a Tuesday afternoon, if you see someone who's super amazing, you'd be like, have you thought about what you're going to, what are you going to school for? And how do kids fit into that? Because you're super awesome with kids. And as you know, a little phrase like that goes a long way. Yeah. And you can also help the camping world by talking to some people, being like, hey, next summer when you come back, maybe the kitchen would be super awesome for you next summer. Yeah. Where you still get to hang with kids, but you might not feel the stress of, being in charge of those kids and helping those people discern where their career path might lead as well.
Right.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna, I think one of the best things that we ingrain into what camp is leadership, right? And you need leadership anywhere in life. And I've mentored people that are not in camping today and were never on the camping path. And I've mentored people that are in camping today. And it all goes back to leadership. And I think a successful camp culture will cultivate leadership at 8, 9, 10, not
yes. Yes.
Really,
yeah, I think if we say, oh, now you're a CIT, now I'm going to talk to you about it, we've really missed a lot of opportunity.
Well, and that's even more like on Monday, was that whatever day, Tuesday night, we had a board meeting, and I'm sitting in the restaurant reading people's, planning your future at Pierce Williams, little booklets.
Yeah.
And what they're getting in that 45-minute session with me is you're seeing people put down, I need to go above and beyond. I need to do whatever needs to be done. And when you're hearing that in an age 9 kid who's like 5 years away from being a CIT, what I think to myself is, man, if we can ingrain that in their heads now, they'll be so much better off for everybody who they work with and work for. Yeah. So I don't think you can start too early.
No.
I think on a Tuesday in the off season, so Tuesday in November, what you can do with people is really just let them in. Let them into the culture and let them into the workings of camp and giving them some ownership. Be like, hey, you know what? Wide games, we did a lot of really good ones last year. I want you to make a new one.
Right.
And I don't, this is definitely not my idea, but I remember hearing about a camp, they decided to play all new wide games. And they paid their staff to come up with new wide games. It was like $1 a game or something like that. $5 if they played it during the summer or something like that. But then they never played the same wide game all summer.
Right.
And those staff members, if you can put a feedback process into that and give them some of that ownership, or like, hey, find some new graces, or like look up anything, just gives them that ownership over that. And I've seen that happen where like someone they will glow while the kids are playing that game, or they'll take ownership and it'll be the best game ever because it's not you or your program director explaining capture the flag for the 6th time because it's
this today's variation on
Counselor Hunt, let's do that again.
Right.
But back on the topic of those like small conversations, for one of my favorite things to do, like it forces me out of the office when I'm in like full scheduling for next week or scheduling mode, is literally just walking out and pulling somebody in and just pulling them aside and talking to them in that moment. Because first of all, it reminds me sometimes that I can come across as scary and I need to smile more just when I'm around.
You're on that pedestal.
But, But to pull someone in and just be like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And you can see them nervous and you say, I want to tell you you're great.
Yeah.
And you're awesome, and just keep doing what you're doing, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And they're just like, is that it? Oh yeah. Oh, okay, that's great. And I'm not doing it to have an impact on them, but that showing of gratitude will also, I believe it affects your camp culture too.
Yes, 100%.
Because I'd like to think that staff member has passed that love on to someone else.
Right.
And in the off season, it can be as simple as, two different staff from last summer a week. Send them a quick email.
Yes.
Right. Just touch base with them to be like, how is life? It has nothing to do with camp. It just has to do with them knowing you care, or in my case, faking that you care.
Excuse me.
So we're all good.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like it's almost counterculture, right? Like we, so little of that interactions happen on a day-to-day basis in someone's life. It really stands out. Both of them.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Any final thoughts or things that you would add in?
No, I would just say, yes.
That's what you always say.
I know.
No, but I'm going to say something anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
My final thought is that this happens. It goes in cycles. So when I'm a young camp director in the late 90s and I get into camping and I realize this is something I can do, what happens is young people notice others. And we start to learn from them even if we don't ask them things. We watch, right? If you're a camping professional and you always see the same young person in your session at conferences when you lead a session, you need to, right, even in that setting, reaching out and introducing yourself to somebody who's the quietest person in the room afterwards can make a huge difference in somebody's life. And I think that it's very cyclical in that we need to keep growing. We need to, Dan used earlier today a phrase, we need to put legs under camping. Right, so that we're not all starting from scratch and then working our way up, and then the new person starts, and can we set that new person a bit higher so that they can reach higher and attain more than we did?
Yeah, that's great, and that mentality is a really pleasant difference from what some of us as pros would have experienced, which is more like hazing. It's like I had to figure it out on my own, so you had to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
But if we're thinking about the long-term impact of camping on staff, then we're like, this is the level you have to start at. You're starting at my level, and you got to go higher. Yeah. And I'll help you get to my level to go there. So that's great. Thank you. Anything else, Matt?
I would say, as a quick tip, just take your staff to conferences.
Yes.
Give them.
Yeah.
I think that's money well worth it, because conferences are great. So the example for me is Tri-State. We, as a 19-year-old, I went to Tri-State with Karen, with the camp that I grew up at, and when you're involved in the director being like, hey, I want you to go check out like how to lead the best games ever. You're going to go to food services, and you have these like 19-year-olds just running around the Atlantic City Conference Center and like absorbing all this knowledge. It's not only good for your organization, but again, it lets them in. It shows like you're responsible for bringing that knowledge back to camp, and I think that's a huge reason why I grew up in a culture of amazing innovation at camp. Was because people at 19, I got to go see Michael Brandwein speak and have my mind blown as a 19-year-old and bring that knowledge back to camp. And even though I'm sure our directors had heard probably a similar talk from Michael Brandwein many times, for me it was fresh, and I was able to bring back my perspective on that. So find money in your budgets to take, whether it's the Buckeye Leadership Workshop or whether it's Tri-State, whether it's any of your ACA, OCA conferences. I don't think you can go wrong with filling up that extra seat.
Or Think Camp.
Or Think Camp.
Yeah. What a great conference.
I was just trying to think. I think as a whole, you could do this through your work with collaboration. I think if you think about the projects that are on the bottom of the shelf that you need to get to, that really make a difference, but when you rank your priorities, they're just you can't get to them, is collaborating with somebody and project managing with them and teaching them how to create something through that. I think that is an easy avenue to create dialogue through mentoring as well, and to let them run with their passion and then develop their tools. I think that's an easy way to get somebody to buy in, for lack of better words, as well to your camp, because they've created something, as you were talking about. I think that collaboration is key. You can do that on any level. You don't have to be a supervisor to do that. So,
And you said something that I think would be my final point, or would reinforce the point that I was going to make, that goes back to what you take in college, or what in college helped you. And I have a degree in psychology that I changed to when I decided I want to be a camp director, and that definitely helped me. But I think if lots of people go into this business because they like working with kids, or they want to teach leaders, and then they, so I want to do this year round, but then you end up with all of these things that you were never trained, these skills you have to pick up. So bookkeeping, Excel stuff, those are important. Project management, like you just said, project management is a great skill.
Any job will need that.
Worth taking a look at that, and and seeing it's a good skill. Cool. But so let's then move us on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
Thank you for watching us, or for the first time, or listening to this show for the first time. We talk about our tool of the week, which is something that we ask each panelist to bring, a tool that makes them a better camp director. And I'm going to start first this time. My tool is a website called camel.com, CAMEL, 3 times, .com. It is an alert service that lets you watch Amazon for certain things. You may have your camp wish list on Amazon if you're a nonprofit or not, but it lets you set an alert, and then what it does, you find the item that you want, you put it into camel.com. Most items, 90% of them, will show you the price range in the past 12 months, and it'll let you set a price at the bottom of that price range, wherever you want, and then you just get an email when that thing comes up in price. So sometimes you get things, we're recording this the week before American Thanksgiving, so I'm watching alerts because I know lots of things are going to drop in price next week, and so just have those things when Christmas or whatever comes along, Christmas, Thanksgiving, those big things. So camel.com. You can look in the show notes that Matt's going to do and find the link to that. Do you have a tool?
I do. It's something that I use in the office every day during the summer, but it's a system, actually. I call it the Better Board. Feel free to use that. There's no trademark. But so I have 3 whiteboards, big whiteboards in my office, and one of those is dedicated to what I call the Better Board. And literally, if I have a conversation with a staff member, if I dream up something like, we could do this better, this is something that we could do better, I'll write it on the board, or even better, if we're talking about mentorship, I get them to write it on the board. And then the coolest thing is when you have in August, once the staff members have seen it, they're like, I'm just gonna put this on the better board, and you're like, yeah, that's great, because now they're thinking about the future of camp, and then that better board comes out. I just type it up as a list every year and send it off to our leadership team and be like, hey, this is what we've talked about during the year. What do we want to move forward on? So, and it's, for me, I've been a new camp director 2 years in a row, and it's a great way to get in with the staff and show them that, you know, you want to create a culture of like growing and getting better as camp. You're not being critical of people's ideas. I wouldn't be like, that your idea sucked. I'm going to put it on the board. But if you can engage them in that conversation, then it's a physical thing, and they know that you're thinking of this and you're wanting to make camp better. And because as a new director, you always are, but it helps people move from the skepticism to the, oh, this person's invested in this new place.
Awesome.
So,
Good, the better board.
The better board.
Dan?
Yeah, so since I'm here in Toronto, I'm going to talk about unplugging at camp tonight. So I figured a great book for every camp director read is called Bored and Brilliant. So the author is actually writes in the second chapter about how summer camp is a great place to unplug and to detox. Yeah, I'm specifically referencing summer camp, but just the studies they reference in there, the verbiage is all good things when you're talking to families about why you want to leave the device at home. So,
right.
Yeah, I recommend it. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
And well written as well too. Yeah.
Good. So. Who's the author?
I will butcher the name, but she also has a podcast called Note to Self.
Oh, okay.
As well too. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Oh, Manoush Samarodi.
Yes, there you go.
Manoush Samarodi. I don't butcher the name.
Thank you.
It's a New York. She's a
WNYC.
Yeah, WNYC journalist. Note to Self is a great podcast.
Great podcast. And Note to Self is all about the intersection of technology and humans.
Cool.
And basically the effects of each other.
That sounds really good.
But it's a great read.
If I had a daughter, I might name her Manoush.
Yeah.
You do have a daughter.
Yeah, I do. I've already named her.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for asking. My tool of the week is PhotoScan, which is a Google app.
Yes.
So I was going to come with a Fujitsu ScanSnap scanner, but I'm sure I've used that before as a tool of the week. Google last year released this PhotoScan app, which is for your phone. And so oftentimes, if you're trying to take a picture of a physical picture, there's glare on it, there's whatnot, and PhotoScan, when it opens up, it gets rid of all that glare, and you just you put the picture on the table, and then you move it around, fill the dots in, and it literally looks like a picture that you've taken with your phone. So as someone who has a lot of photo albums that are physical, PhotoScan is an easy way with your phone to burn through a bunch. And for like a Throwback Thursday, like I did maybe 200 photos in half an hour. And I was like, man, these are a ton of my camp, like CIT and first year counselor in the late 80s. And I was like, nobody knows these photos.
Is that where the picture of you in the Mohawk came from?
Yeah, that's the summer. That's picture. 1990. Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
That is a great picture.
Yeah, you're like, what? Joe had hair. Stop it. I need to find my grade 13 high school photo because I had like full hair, long hair, like down to my neck.
Right.
Yeah. Bleach blonde because it took me 3 years to grow it out. My hair grows really slow. I'm just waiting for it to come back. So PhotoScan by Google is what I would recommend.
But also, what a great app to give to a young person if they live close to camp. They want to come in and volunteer for a day. Yeah. They get to see those photos, and you can share the stories behind them.
Yes, brilliant.
Yeah.
Really good idea.
Awesome.
Good. Well, I want to thank everybody for being listeners of the show. If you're a listener, for watching it on YouTube, if you're doing that. And we're really grateful to get to do this for you. It's nice to have everybody in the same room. I'm sorry Gab can't be here. She's at the Quebec Camp Conference this week.
No Montreal bagels here.
That's right. But thank you very much for being a part of this. We're grateful to have you here, and thanks to the three of you.
Awesome, and this is my first time meeting Dan in person.
That's true. Been talking over Skype for a decade.
Yeah, awesome. A decade. That's hard to believe.
A decade.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Right on. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.